When the world saw Buddhist monks in Myanmar leading calls to cleanse a Muslim minority, it was shocking. Monks are supposed to, or at least portrayed to, preach peace, for the elimination of greed and hatred, to become enlightened and reach nirvana. So how did some end up becoming the face of a genocide? This is monk Ashwin Warathu, the leader of the 969 movement, a Buddhist national movement with close ties to the military and accused of spreading anti-Muslim propaganda. The numbers stand for the virtues of the Buddha. He claims Buddhism faces an existential threat from Rohingya Muslims. But this hatred did not appear out of thin air. To understand why people believed his extreme ideas, we have to look at how a colonial business decision 150 years ago created an identity trap. In the 1800s, the British Empire treated Myanmar, when it was still called Burma, not like a sovereign nation, but a corporate farm. In the Arakan region, they saw that the Western region wasn't producing enough profit. Their solution? Mass immigration. They moved millions of Muslim laborers from Bengal to work the rice fields. Then the British did something even more damaging. They sorted people. In a 1931 colonial census, British bureaucrats labeled all Muslim families as migrants, no matter how long they had lived there. Despite millions having already lived in the region for generations, on paper, all of them became outsiders. The British used these migrants to fill clerical and tax-collecting jobs, so colonial power did not look distant. For many Buddhist villagers, suddenly the face of colonial oppression wasn't a Brit in London. It was the Muslim neighbor at a doorstep, the convenient scapegoat. By World War II, this resentment turned into a front line. Muslims fought with the British and Buddhists with the Japanese. And when the British left in 1948, they left behind a country hardwired for civil war.
Muslim
Fast forward to today, the military and the 969 movement weaponized that colonial resentment using a bizarre bit of math, 786. This is a geometrical value of the Islamic phrase Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, meaning in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. In the Islamic abjad or gematria tradition, every Arabic letter is assigned a numerical value. For Muslims across Myanmar, 786 have long been a common site to identify halal restaurants or Muslim-owned shops. But extremists turned it into a conspiracy that Muslims have a secret plan to take over the country in the 21st century since 7 plus 8 plus 6 equals 21.
The
Myanmar military used the resentment to delete the Rohingya legally. In 1978, Operation Dragon King, a campaign of arrests, intimidation, rape, and violence forced roughly 200,000 Rohingya to flee across the border to Bangladesh. 4 years later, in 1982, the citizenship law passed, saying only families who lived there before the British arrived in 1824 belonged to the nation. Overnight, millions of Rohingya were stripped of citizenship, rights, and legal existence. By the 2010s, something new was added: propaganda. Extremist monks began traveling the country warning that Muslims were an existential threat to Buddhism itself. They used sermons, street protests, and Facebook posts to spread fear.
We know that the ultranationalist Buddhists have their own Facebooks and really inciting a lot of violence and a lot of hatred against the Rohingya or other ethnic minorities.
What followed was one of the most brutal campaigns in Myanmar's history. In the months after August 25th, 2017, the propaganda turned into clearance operations. The results were horrific. Thousands killed, villages razed, and 700,000 Rohingya men, women, and children forced to flee across the border into Bangladesh in a matter of months, creating what UN agencies now call one of the largest refugee crises in the world.
It is clear from our intense legal review that there is, in fact, a legal basis to conclude that the Rohingya were the victims of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide.
Independent investigations and surveys estimated that thousands of Rohingya were killed during that period, including whole families and children, and villages across northern Rakhine were systematically burned and razed. The UN and human rights bodies have described the campaign as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing and genocide, and much of the international community now cites the scale of killing, rape, and forced displacement as evidence of systematic state-led violence against the Rohingya. Today, nearly 1 million Rohingya live in and around Cox's Bazar, the largest refugee settlement on earth. Most cannot return. They have no citizenship, no homeland, and no legal status beyond the camps. They are living the daily consequences of a colonial ledger in rows of shelters built on land they never chose, under a system that the Brits first labeled them outsiders more than a century ago.